Hello, I forgot to change that again, but that's fine. I can do it now. This is not that important a stream, so it's fine that not everything's as it should be. Hello, and welcome back to another Talking Fate, this time for Chapter 3 of Final Note. As you can tell, this stream is very empty relative to last time. However, there's a neat little feature that I have completely forgotten to use until this very point. If there is someone in chat right now who would like to say hi, which could also be you, Joey, if you want.
Give me a moment. I wasn't told who you did not prep me beforehand.
What? No, I obviously
Hi.
did. Ah, yeah, that's small.
Oh, hey, you can do that now.
Yeah, no, I had chat.
Oh, there goes chat.
I forgot I had that for ages, like, during the last time Toho aired, and I just completely forgot to insert it anywhere else.
Well, you're gonna insert it into normal streams?
D&D wise, I'm not actually sure yet, but non-D&D, the answer is probably yes.
Alright, cool.
I'm just not sure how distracting chat could be in a game where it's already kind of tight on space now and again.
It depends.
Because before we actually start, I just want to go
I mean-
over this, because some of us definitely know the pain more than others in this group. But trying to make the OBS scene for each game work can be a struggle.
Yeah.
Making sure that... sorry, you speak.
You could put it over where the slideshow is.
I could. I could do it instead of a
just-
slideshow, depending on.
Well, no. I just mean have it run over top of the slideshow.
I could, yeah.
I mean, I don't think that would be that bad. I don't think. Cause...
Except that they don't actually fade away, they just keep going and going.
Yeah, but it's not that big. It's the same images are always there, so it's not that big of a deal.
Depending on what
And it's not like it's going to cover the whole screen.
No.
I don't know. Just an idea.
No, but just trying to make sure everything fits the way that we want, and also in a way that is convenient for stream to watch, aka you chatters, viewers, watchers, etc., lurkers. We got to make sure that the Roll20 is visible enough, or whatever we're using at the time, so that you can see what is going on. Make sure that our icons aren't too small, so it's basically non-existent that we're even there. If we are doing it in a certain way, like, let me use Pokemon as an example as a game that's currently ongoing, that was a pain for me to have to design, and yes, Taz the DM was helping me with it, and they were agreeing with me a bit there, I think. Were you there too, Joey?
Yes, I was.
Yeah.
You know what we could have done?
What?
Since we had that third spot open, what we should have done is move one of us into the back corner and have the Roll20 overlap into that corner.
Mm-hmm.
So that way we take up less space.
That definitely could have worked. However, at the time, we thought we were going to have 4 players, so we planned around that.
Yeah, that is true. That is very true.
Which, I guess, fun fact for a different game, AlphaGate was originally going to have 4 players. Life took over, and it was not really feasible for that to happen. But we'll get into that a little bit. And actually, it's probably a good place to start. Where have we been? We've been here, but very sporadically, if it's not exactly obvious.
Mm-hmm.
Because ever since the year started, games have been a bit, not rougher, but more on and off. Part of that is purely just scheduling. That's the normal part of
life.
Final Note and AlphaGate were planned to be every other week. That part was completely normal. So that is not just a scheduling issue every other week that kept happening constantly. I don't think I made a post about that because I didn't feel it was necessary, but that just was... I also feel like we mentioned it in at least one of those games.
Mm-hmm.
But that just was the case. Now, the time when those games are either on hiatus for a short time, or had a player missing for a short amount of time, that was life taking over, and said player being okay with us continuing, but us not wanting to go beyond a certain point without said player. So, of course, until the real life events taking their life over were done and gone, we sort of just had to sit there. It wasn't the worst, but it certainly slowed things down. As well as there's been other things in the background. But hopefully, after things start picking up again, it should all be relatively good from that point on. Like, as it's fairly obvious, I am currently working on and planning out Final Note Chapter 4. And, I just hit my toe.
Of course, of course.
Of course, of course. While AlphaGate is still ongoing, it is reaching a conclusion soon enough, for now. So, there will also be... Yeah. A little pause, like most of our games end up doing now and again. Then after that, there will be a new game run by Tez. So, things will be picking up eventually. Of course, we still have Crumbling Legacy currently ongoing, which is probably the... I was about to say safest game. That's not really the case. Consistent game.
Consistent. Our favorite word, consistency.
Yes. If there was ever merch we made on this channel, that would be it.
Yep, consistency.
Whatever that means.
What would we even put on the fucking thing? Like a roll?
What, just 2 rolls that are exactly the same or something?
I guess.
Maybe a character doing said role, depending on what we want that to be merchandise-wise.
Uh-huh. We just have to figure out, like, who is, like, what was the most consistent... Oh, God, that would
Who was
forever.
Looking back through all games, who was the most consistently rolling player? Or character, not player.
Well, I mean, right now, it's freaking, Sync.
Well, okay. Sync doesn't count.
I know, but that's gonna be he is the most consistent source of fucking damage.
Look, I could go into why that is right now, but that is probably something I should save for when Clutch does his own version of this once Crumbling Legacy ends. Short end of it, though, just in case you're curious. Sync has a feat that makes it so that all of his d4s roll a minimum of a 3, and the way I had to put that into the sheet to make sure it worked properly made it so that it only looks like he rolls a flat number every single time.
But
so you
check.
see
it
you
does
see him
change.
Yes.
It's just very rare.
You see him roll a 12 all the time, but if one of those 3s it rolls a 4, it will be a 4, and therefore he will roll a 13 or higher. That is all I'll go into that, though, since this is not supposed to be about that, even though I'm talking about everything else, which it's fine. It's been a while since we've done anything like this, so...
Yeah. We're
just
talking.
Just talking about things like this is perfectly fine. Might have some other guests appear, whether they are from the game or not. As well, here's a good time for me to say this. If you're in chat, or a lurker, or a watcher, listener, someone who likes the channel, someone who likes the game, wants to learn a little bit more, preferably you can ask questions about Final Note. Hello, Jabba. Hi, Taz. You can ask questions about Chapter 3, but you can also ask questions about the entirety of Final Note, or at the current moment you could also ask questions about us and the channel in general, since it has been a while since anything like this has happened. If we feel that a generic question would better fit somewhere else, we will say so. Otherwise, feel free to ask whatever you want. Speaking of questions, hi Taz, you got any of those?
Don't think so. And hi. At least not at this very second.
Alright. How about Joey? Anything on your end?
Not a question, but I think I may have found something we could say for the shirt, for the thing, if we ever did it.
What, for consistency merch?
Yes. Good or bad, the rolls are always consistent. We are good or bad, we are rolling consistently. That would work.
Sure, right about that.
Write that down. Someone write that down.
All right, Joe, you're the guy.
Oh, I'm writing it in our thing.
Sure.
I'm gonna message it to you.
Yeah. Not like we're anywhere near merchandise, but still. It's fun to think about now and again. Especially when it's something that comes up as consistently as that. No pun intended.
How do you spell consistently?
How do you spelled?
Fine, I'll type it to you.
Okay. Thank you.
Misty, please don't type
There you go.
anything in chat. You don't have questions.
Now,
My cat has
while we wait for any questions to possibly come in, which I will ask again now and again, if anyone has, I can start with the earliest part. The chapter that never happened. Sorry, that's not for that. Just looking at the chat now. Yeah, I'm just gonna respond just in case. There you go. Now, the chapter that never happened, which is chapter 2.5. I forget if I mentioned it during the last Talking Fate after chapter 2 ended, but I think I hinted that there was something that was supposed to happen but never did, and I will talk about it more here. I believe that's what happened, but I could be mistaken. If not, this is my first time mentioning it, and it was going to... Why'd I get it? Oh, right. Right,
It has
yeah.
been
Mm-hmm.
good or bad, we roll consistency.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So chapter 2.5 was just going to be shorter, probably not as short as, or maybe about as short as chapter 3 ended up being, or a little shorter. Definitely shorter than a normal length game, though. Whether that's 10, 20, 30 sessions. Definitely not that. Probably somewhere between 4 and 6. That would have... Honestly, the original plan, like way before chapter 1 even started, way back during Extraneous, I already had the idea for what it would be, but I didn't know if the calendar would line up properly.
It would have.
It would have, because it was going to be a Christmas-related game.
And I helped come up with the flow for it.
You did. However, I cannot bring up that right now, really, except for a few bits and pieces, because some of it may get reused later in different forms.
What? Oh, you mean the main person?
Yeah.
But I can say what the goal of the thing would have been.
Yeah.
Okay. Am I allowed to?
Sure.
Okay. So what we had came up with was how all of the servants were Santa servants. Basically, the thing of it would have been to determine who the next Santa servant would be. And it would basically be, I don't remember if it was a fight or like they had to deliver presents or something like that.
It was going to just be multiple kind of generic trials, like who can bake the best something or other. I forget exactly what I was going to do. Who can slay the sled the fastest?
Slay the sled?
Yeah.
It was the Santa Claus Dark Souls parody. I see.
Well, you're slaying a sled. That sounds like a Dark Souls boss.
I'm sure Taz was in that game, which they were not originally going to be. There were going to be very few players in that one. However, there's many reasons why that game didn't happen, but that's not really important. One of which was just I didn't want to at that time. I wasn't feeling it.
You didn't have the Christmas spirit.
No, so instead I went back to Toho. It's fine. I was glad with that. Toho went well.
It did.
I can never be upset about it. Eventually we will go back to that, by the way. Just
Toho can
not for
never be a
while.
bad apple.
Ha ha. Eventually we'll get back to that sometime after the chapter 4 area. So you can look forward to that eventually. Eventually. But yeah, no, chapter 2.5 was just going to be who can become the King of Christmas?
Basically.
Yeah, it sounds stupid. However, the important part would have been, as you could have guessed, another ultimate one. AKA Type Moon. How that would have played out actually would have related back to Extraneous a little bit, since Arquaid, who is not Type Moon, that was actually the reason why they were in Extraneous, to be able to do said thing. And that is where they went after the events of Extraneous. To that world that we never got to really see. Sure, we can say that the events still happen, except for Zack. Or we could still say that Zack did go there, for all we know. Never gonna bring it up. It's just like an event that you happen to miss during the game runtime. You just happen to miss the event, so maybe it gets brought up in the main story, maybe it doesn't. Who knows?
Just the final battle, have a Christmas servant appear. Don't worry, Zack, I'm here.
Don't worry, Zack. Remember me?
Yes, you. Who the
You.
fuck is that guy?
Santa Nemo is the only one I can think of off the top of my head.
No. We gotta do Santa Genghis Khan. I forget what their actual name is. But...
Attila the Santa.
Attila the Santa, yes.
Or just Altera.
Altera, yeah.
Yeah. But, it's whatever, it's fine. I can definitely say it wasn't going to be my favorite chapter, so I'm not too upset I didn't get to run it. Ironically, of the mainline ones, I feel Chapter 3 or at first was going to be my least favorite. But, no, I'd say right now it's second place.
Out of 3?
Yeah.
Well, who's on the bottom?
2.
I see.
Unfortunately. It was fine as a chapter, but it had some issues, including a player not being able to make it for the rest of the time.
I'm sorry.
I know!
You wound this poor bear's heart.
I wanted to be there.
Look, Chapter 2 is important. We all know this. However, that someone has to be at the bottom. Think of it this way, Joey.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying it's
No.
joke.
Think of it this way. The 3 initial fairy knights who came out. Melusine, Barghest, Bavanshi. I like all 3 of them. However, you guys give me flack always since Barghest is my least favorite of them, just because there's only 3 to work with.
Okay. Barghest is my favorite.
I know. I don't hate Barghest. She just happens to be my least favorite of the 3.
Barghest, Melusine, Bavanshi.
Why are our lists reversed?
Because
Babanji,
we both
Melusine,
hold-
Barghest.
Because we both hold Melusine above the other. Because we both really like Melusine, but we can't just put her at the top.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I do like my Bavanshi.
I love my Barghest.
There's a reason why I maxed her out as much as I could with her summer form after I pulled her in on the Japanese account I have on Grand Order. I can't 120 her because I only pulled a single copy. God, that banner sucked. But I got her as high as I could. Boy, do I love using her when she can work. That's neither here nor there, though. Alright, so that's Chapter 2.5 stuff out the way. Now, Chapter 3. Just checking again. If any questions have been posted, no, they have not.
No.
If anyone does have questions regarding anything really, the channel, the chapter, the games, in general, any questions you can ask. If we feel that there's a better place for them, we will say so. Otherwise, we will answer them here. Now, Chapter 3. Chapter 3. Where do I begin? I guess and go with what it was initially going to be. Because it did somewhat change. And for it roughly it stayed the same, that being, what if Kazuto Drop acted like BB in a way, but with her own stuff? So yes, it is very similar to Fate Extra CCC Foxtail, just because Kazuto Drop's the main enemy there. But it is different in multiple aspects. One of which being, well, there's an alternate one inside her. This one really was just a finale for past games. For Sig Zenith, the part where they were in the Fae, where they were in Avalok. Not everything was concluded here for that, but a lot of it was. The Sky King was brought back partially. I can get... Actually, you know what? I can get something ready in the meantime. Sky King was brought back briefly. One of the probably worst enemies that they faced.
Yeah.
We had, well, Kazujop herself, obviously. That one probably shouldn't need to be stated. As well as I get, I don't even want to say Melusine. Because that wasn't really her now, was it? No. No, it wasn't. But just, things here and there that sort of concluded there, as well as extraneous stuff. Koff, Hakuno, Sion, Bibi, etc. Davy!
Hello.
Oh, Davy. Actually, first of all. God, it's big.
Davy, my Davy.
Why is she so big?
Why is she so
hi.
big? Hi.
I want her to be manageable on screen at least. There we go.
He's sitting on me.
Nope, still too big. There we go. There she is. Full art and all. Full glory. So, I actually made this before, because of course, Kazujop came as an official servant right before the chapter was being released. Of course.
As always.
As always. However, that one has a bit more of a story, which I can get into that now as well while I'm on it. So we all know summer of last year was essentially Ordeal Call 3. All the Beast Air Shikiko stuff, all the BB Dubai, all that good stuff. And Kazudrop was just an NPC there. Not summonable, not even really a servant, you could say. Just called a moon cancer, decapitated, done. But technically chapter 2 was going on at that point. But I knew that meant that Kazudrop was going to be released at some point. And I was right. So I did not draw her little form, and I was really hoping her big form would not be the servant. So this is what I ended up with. A design based around her design in Foxtail, but with a few changes here and there. Of course, my own style, plus the little wispies from the Sky King. And if anyone is curious, yes, those are what we're using. The deranged eyes that see through lies, or whatever the attack was called.
That's right.
Something along those lines.
Yes, that is what you said. Deranged eyes that see through lies.
And just
I
whacking
remember.
people with tails. Specifically
Yes.
Chipotle.
Uh-huh.
Were you the only one I ever hit with that?
Yep.
Great.
You hit me twice with it once. I made the save. The other time I did not.
Wonderful. And we'll get to the other Kazujop art that I have, because I do want to show that one off. But first, a little bit more about that. So yeah, I knew Kazujop was going to be released as a servant, and last time, after Chapter 2 ended, because I wasn't sure about it, but I had a hint, I had a little assumption that it would be the case. Where is it? I was tempted to show the stream something that I was working on that I basically stopped working on simply because I believed that she would be. No, alright. Let me try this.
You can do it, I believe.
Technical stuff, as always. And actually, this is probably going to be one of the first times that you can actually see my process. How big is this going to be now? Yeah, alright. Let's shrink her down. Yep. Alright, here we go. There she is. A basic model, not even in pose or anything. There's another story behind that right now. Of little Kazudrop. However, the moment I saw her in Ordeal Call 3, that's when I decided, no, she's probably going to be a servant. No point in me designing her fully. I could just design the big one, be done with it. If I need to draw a little one, I will. And we got where we went. However, The story behind this and why the pose is what it is and not how all of my art is that this was actually going to be an attempt at a VTuber model. Not one that we use all the time, nor a long-standing one, but rather than the prelude you got for Chapter 3, rather than the Episode 0 that you got for it, it was going to be more based around Kazuto Drop. That didn't end up happening for multiple reasons, the main one being that, well, this didn't actually happen. But man, the amount of layers in there. That, again, it didn't pan out that way, but for multiple reasons. Not only the amount of work and time that we had / gave ourselves, which I believe... Wait, Joey, did we give ourselves since... Not last year, but last year's summer?
For this?
Yeah.
I don't want to say it was that long.
I can't remember. It might have... no.
It might have been at the end of...
Maybe...
at the end of last... Not last, but the August before, like just before the new year.
That's what I meant.
Maybe.
Around that time, because it had
But we might not have started it.
No. Because it had to be before Chapter 1 ended. And that was the beginning of last year that it actually started.
Mm-hmm.
Could be. However, many layers in that document, in that... That was one of them. The other was just the hunch of, well, she's going to get a design anyway by Wadarko. There's no real point in me doing it myself. I wouldn't feel right doing that. However, my assumption of, but the big form from Foxtail after she ate Protea, cough, spoilers, I suppose, that one I was less certain would be the servant. So I was more fine designing the one that would be based off of that, even if the reason for her doing so is different. Because obviously in Chapter 3 she didn't eat Protea. In fact, the opposite, she spit her out. But she did have the Sky King, which was quite the big entity. So in fully using those powers, and gaining her power through her chrysalis, instead of the other members of the Cyber 5, that is how she grows to be the size that you see on the image now, not the rough draft of the little one that you see here. Now, let me just get rid of these. And move you over here, just so you're out of the way. Yeah, that works. That works. Alright. I guess moving on to a little bit of cut content. It's not really that much. Honestly, a lot of it was cut before I could even say it's cut, since it's just me planning things out from the initial stages. And sorry, I just looked at the chat again. And even then, things changed around that time period anyway. Oh well, there he goes. So at first, another servant that was going to appear would have been Johannes Gutenberg. That didn't really go anywhere. I had no idea in my mind how to feasibly make him work well in a meaningful way. You could also say the same thing for Dvorak. However, in my notes, it literally just says, maybe Dvorak has an enemy. And that was it. Mm-hmm. I did what I meant. I meant what I did. I just wish it was a bit more. However, at the same time...
all that effort I put into him.
However, at the same time, Chapter 3 ended up being shorter than I wanted it to be, so... Well, not shorter than I wanted it to be, but shorter than it ended up panning out initially, so... Yeah, some things had to...
We accident to speed run.
Uh-huh. Not upset about it. Alright. That's actually pretty much all of the quote-unquote cut content, just because there's not that much of it. But there are things that never ended up getting shown. So, let's go to the cryptids. Hi, Jabber.
Hi.
Welcome back. I saw you were rebooting.
Starting with
knock on my door, no response.
starting with Bigfoot. I think no, not the first one you made.
No, I think he was.
No, second, because Flatwood was the first.
Oh yeah, you're right. You're right.
All of these are relatively simple in design, but I love the way that Joey drew them. They definitely have that mechanical feel. And where are you? There you are.
Geometric shapes. Geometric shapes are your friend. The Chupacabra.
Le Chupacabra. Of them all, I feel like my favorite design is the one that never got shown on stream. There's good old Flatwood, the one that actually started the whole thing. Both in terms of which one Joey designed first, and in terms of the one that gave me the idea. Like, I don't know a lot about cryptids, I will fully admit that. It's not really my forte, nor something I'm fully invested or interested in. Just not my thing. I know stuff, just not a lot. But the Flatwood monster is one that I did know about. Do know about, really. So it was really that idea of, can I use the Flatwood monster in this chapter? Well, alone? I don't know. What would be the point? But what if there's more cryptids?
I gave an idea for what to do with all the robot cryptids. Of course, the end result wasn't what I was expecting.
Oh, we'll get to that. There's Jersey. I'll just put you up here. It's fine, he has a jetpack, he can fly. Oh, the cryptids. Love them. They were so good. It was such a good idea. Oh, the Thunderbird. If only it was shown on stream.
Yeah.
On one hand, it is completely my fault for telling the party, hey, let your NPCs deal with it so you can deal with this stuff. But on the other hand, it would have felt like it's just padding for time that doesn't need to be there.
Guys, did you ever get to see the Thunderbird?
Nope.
Well, there you go.
Here's the Thunderbird.
Burb.
Yep. And so, I didn't actually finish my other thought. There's been a little underlying theme throughout each chapter, no matter how obvious or unobvious it may be. And that is the idea of the Wild Hunt. Chapter 1 and 2, it appeared both times. Chapter 2, less so, it's just not noticeable. But for Chapter 3, Daedalus essentially created his own Wild Hunt. Or at least that was the intention. That was the point of the cryptids here, the mecha cryptids. And, oh boy, Daedalus, there's a lot I could say about him. However, I won't. I cannot. If I'm asked questions about him, I may say things, but I would not say anything on my own about him.
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
Was I his favorite? I never specified it was a serious question.
What if I told you that Guts was his favorite?
I wouldn't be surprised, but I'd be disappointed.
Well, you're right, because it's Nocrati.
Fair enough.
It's his wife.
Of his children.
Yeah, of his children.
You didn't specify!
I said, was I his favorite? I'm not his wife.
Were you his favorite what? You didn't say.
Okay, was I his favorite child, creation, whatever. At least
sure.
that was currently there.
Not really, but sure.
I don't think he had favorites, not directly.
You didn't see his favorite.
Exactly. Therefore, they don't exist, and I am there.
Hey, you left your cryptid out.
Shit, you're right. I just scrolled down and saw it. Like, right as you said that. High water
Do I
lion.
sound farther away?
Yeah, you do.
Okay, I just went to sit on my bed.
It's fine. There we go. There's all the cryptids now. Sorry, we missed one there. And no, I'm not bringing in the Megazord.
Megazord.
Sorry, the Mechazord. Legally distinct.
There you go. Don't be getting us in any trouble now.
No. Definitely not. Alright, doesn't look like we're going to have any questions for a little bit now. So, next thing is... Kapotli, you kind of changed the story.
I figured I did.
Like, not too much. Not as much as you would expect. However, the initial idea was for Zack to still go through the world himself.
Mm-hmm.
However, that was way, way back when I had first played the world, and things had changed since then.
Yeah.
Still during Extraneous is around the time that this changed. And did we decide that Capaldi would be your character here before Extraneous ended?
No.
Okay. I just can't remember.
No, I was still trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And I was at a loss. I could not come up with anything. And then I think I jokingly said something about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was like, no, you could do that. I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah. Obviously.
Can I be this?
This super
And
weak thing that the world is wholly against?
It's not weak. You nerfed me.
No, you looked pretty weak to me.
In case it wasn't said on stream, after I had started making NPCs, Joey had actually made his build, and it was around dealing lightning damage and ignoring resistance and immunity to it, essentially. However, by that point, a good number of enemies had already had the feature of, I recharge myself by healing by electricity. So that essentially just nerfed Joey to hell. That whole game, just pain for him.
Yeah.
Or, if I did say it before, there's more or less the full story since it's not a long one. It's relatively short. However, the way that Capotli, as I slowly get rid of this stuff, changed the actual story is that around that time, or a little before, was when I had chosen to remove Zack from Chapter 3, more or less, and have Sion take over as the, I'm not going to say the protagonist, but as the focal point. And by the way, spoilers for Chapter 3, if you're here now and you don't want spoilers, go watch it, come back here. If you really want, you can ask questions still, and I'll try and answer them in chat, or not chat, but in the comments if you have any later on. Here's your warning, here's your buffer, you have been warned, go back, finish Chapter 3, no more spoiler warning, here we go. So, Sion's death, that I knew from the beginning since I changed it up a little bit. Again, this was still early on, like maybe around the time that Chapter 1 was starting up. Like, I knew some people from the crew were gonna die. I was unsure of how or when. And it was after a point when I realized, well, Sion did look into Heidi's memories. Very easily, that could allow her to see a conversation with Hyaki, where he talks about the future. Because, of course, as you may know, he knows a lot about the future. So Sion...
Future.
So Sion could very easily know that, oh, I'm going to die here, but I'm going to help Zack progress further from this point. I'm fine with this. I don't know why it's going to happen or how it's going to happen, but I know it's going to happen. So that's how I decided that, yeah, this will be Sion's story. where it is her finale. It is her ending, and that is that. The fact that Hakuno had a servant design shown just helped me be able to disguise her properly, because I actually at first was just planning on letting it be Little Sion again. However, once Ordeal Call 3 came out, again, good timing. Yeah. That was where the disguise as Hakuno part came in. Specifically female, so that it could have the guise of, yeah, I'm the one that you saw, Kapotli, but I'm not your friend from then. But we're friends now, right? As well as, you know, a little bit of easing here and there by calling them Davy, since that is what they knew them as. For that whole journey. And I think it went well. I do think that was the right way to take the story, not just Zack going through it again. Because it would have just led to a point where Zack was kidnapped by Khazra-drop, party would be without him, have to get him back. I feel like it's just better that he wasn't the focal point this time. Because he really wasn't. Chapter 3 is probably the one that will involve Zacharias the least. Is it important for his character? Yes, and I'll get to that. Is it important for him to have been there to witness these events? No. He can still learn and grow from them without being there. And, well, let's be honest, it would have just been torture for him to see it in all its glory. But, actually, before I move on, chat, guests, any questions regarding what I've just said, any comments, little things you want to add on yourself? You two are the guests.
I don't have any questions that I can think of.
Alright. What about the one who went to bed?
I'm back over here. What about it? Yes.
You have any
I don't have any
questions, thoughts, trivia, little add-ons you want to do
about the just in general?
about what I just said? I
I
mean, it can be in general as well, but specifically that.
don't think so. We are still going to be speaking of World 3, yes?
Mm-hmm.
So I assume I can eventually ask questions about
Yeah,
things
yeah,
like,
yeah.
hey, what happened to these guys? Or yada yada yada.
Oh, yeah. Those guys.
Uh-huh. No, I don't think I
Yeah.
have anything. I don't think I have anything at this moment that pertains to what we just talked about. I think I said all the...
Alright. In that case... Actually, you know what? Sure. Any Chapter 3 questions you guys have, or add-ons that you want to just put yourselves through.
What happened to the 3 I sent searching for freaking, for Lewis?
I knew you to be asking that.
Yeah.
And the answer, I'm going to give a non-answer.
Okay.
Well, for everyone except Joey, who technically has the answer from this. They went back to Papa.
Motherfucker!
Well, he brought them back.
We gave them free will and everything.
They may still have free
Rebel,
will,
right?
but he took them back to him.
Rebel Belusine. Rebel!
Rabel.
He's gonna hate that, isn't he?
He's gonna try and fix that.
Who taught you this word? Stop it.
Shut up! Rebel!
They just at the dinner table one day, she just breaks a plate.
Rebel! Oh, it's like freaking Android 13. He couldn't get rid of the southern twang.
Can't fix what ain't broke.
Yep. He's gonna have to live with that now.
Was that your question regarding that?
I was wondering what happened to them.
This goes for you
that
two,
was
Taz, and chat.
I'm gonna guess that you're probably not going to say if any whatever happened to those who remained.
Well, yeah, because those who remain means that they're somewhere else.
Yes.
Considering, at the very least, the datascape of World 3 no longer exists.
Yes. Hmm. Oh, Mio, Frank, not Mio,
Frank?
but Franklin,
Mhm.
Benjamin, the three of them who gave themselves to.
Fran, Franklin, and Kaguya?
Yeah, they all gave themselves up to do that. So
Yes. Actually,
and
in a similar vein, I do want to show the full art for Kaguya. That never got to be shown truly. You keep thinking of going. I do. Like, okay. Not so much a story here about the character, but me personally. After a certain. But God, you cannot see her legs that well. That's going to help a little bit, but I can't keep her there. Me, after a certain point, went through a bit of a slump in terms of art. Multiple times, however. This is one of the more recent ones of last year. And as I got back out of that slump and started doing art again, I started to really change how I was doing my art. And this was one of the early ones, so it is very much more experimenty compared to some of the other ones you'll see more recently that I've done. It is not the best. I like how she turned out. There's things I don't like. But overall, it's alright. Princess Kaguya, Kaguya Hime. I tried not to make her just look like the one from Toho because obviously. But of course, Kaguya Hime will look like Kaguya Hime. So, yeah, there will be similarities.
Yep. I don't think I have any other questions off the top of my head. I gave my main one.
In that case, I would like to move on, not to more spoiler and preview stuff, but to the overall feeling of not part one, because I said before, specifically, this is not the end of part one. However, it is the end of a section. Because chapters 1, 2, and 3 are about Zack's growth. Chapter 4 and onward is his real journey. And each chapter has Zack go through a different type of growth each time. Something he learns about himself in a different way. Chapter 1, the first chapter, his first adventure, was him learning what it means to be a master. Not only did he actually have a servant in said chapter, and I think that's the only chapter where he's had a servant so far. Well, no. Chapter 2 he had one, but not by choice. Not by choice.
No.
But not only did he have a servant in Chapter 1, he also had another master to look at and observe in Chapter 1. Yes, they ended up being the enemy. However, they were still someone for Zack to observe and learn from during the time that he did. And he did learn from him. Not bad things per se, because during the time, Michael was solely acting as an ally. He wasn't acting as a villain. So Zack learned the good things from that. What it means to be a master, how to be a master, how to, I don't want to say use your servants, but how to work with them, stuff like that. He learned how to essentially use command seals and be a proper master, which is what he is. Chapter 2, in that case, if it is not obvious if you've watched Chapter 2, was Zacharias learning what it means to be a servant. He himself is not a servant. However, he had to pretend to be one the entire time, mostly. And while not directly, he did have the powers of a servant due to Typhon being inside of him that whole time. That did not linger, nor did it last, but it did let him feel what it is like to be a servant. which in a way would help him as a master from that point on, since he truly knows what a servant would feel like. Especially involving when his master-servant contract with said Typhon got swapped around. That was fun for like 5 minutes. Actually, that's a really good segue to something else, but I will move on to chapter 3 first. Because that reminded me of something I didn't actually bring up. Chapter 3, Zack wasn't really there for. What could he have learned? At the very end, I did say a little bit of the conversation between Zack and Sion. I did not go through all of it. I did not want to go through all of it on stream. Because that's not something that you need to see. You just need to know that it happened. But the little bit that she did tell him and let him discover for himself is that he is not a human. Zacharias is what is known as an Aetherliner. Now, that term probably means next to nothing to most people. However, I know there's at least one person in chat, not right now maybe. However, I do know that there are some people who do know about...
And if you know, you know.
I'm trying to find the name. God, where is it? Where is it? Yep, there you are. There you are. What is the name of the thing, though, before I say it properly, or improperly, I mean? Yeah, okay, there it is. So if you know, you know. If you don't, you don't. Aetherliners are a new kind. You could sort of call them neo-humans from the world of Notes, the Land of Steel, where the Ultimate Ones actually attacked the planets and did their job properly. So, of course, since 6 Zenith was around that time period, roughly after the end of that campaign is when liners and Aetherliners started to pop up. Zack is not a first generation, but a second generation of them. And the only difference between a liner and an Aetherliner is that an Aetherliner is essentially a more powerful one. I am very much simplifying this because I don't want to go into all of it. However, yes, something like Slash Emperor is a weapon that can fight against Ultimate Ones, and it is from an Aetherliner. Does Zack have an ability like that? Yes. Does he know how to use it properly? Obviously no. He cannot just point his finger at an Ultimate One and it blows up. However, similar, but yet different from Slash Emperor, I have now and again pointed out a scar on his palm. It is not a scar, but a mark of his ability. An ability that you can call, just generally call Knight Arms, because that is what Slash Emperor is. It is a weapon of, what is his name? Is it Addo or Edo? Addo Edom. Close enough, probably. Pronunciation's not going to be right, however, work with it. So yeah, Zack does have his own ability. He has not named it. He does not know what to name it. He doesn't even know what it is, really. He knows he has it, and he now knows he is an Aetherliner. But that is pretty much it. From this point on, it'll be him growing as a person, as who he is, and figure out what he wants to do. Not just, bless you.
Thank you.
Not just what he feels like he should do. And that is an important distinction. Now, a small detail in Chapter 2 that never, ever got brought up again.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what I mean by little trivia things. Hassan of the Shining Star disappeared randomly and was brought back for a moment to not get the killing blow on Typhon, but a decisive blow on her. And I pointed out that he looked like he had gone through extreme torture, and that some of his body was more mechanical than it was before. Khazra-Drop's Datascape is where he ended up. Not only that, at some point he had ended up in the Bug Space, being tortured by Khazra-Drop for a while. Fun for him, definitely fun for him. But that is also why, after that point, he had decided, I don't care who my allies or enemies were, I'm just going to destroy whatever wants to be like that thing. And since Khazra-Drop at the time was the Ultimate One, Typhon, who was trying to become the Ultimate One, was a prime target. Unfortunately, I do not believe you were there for that, were you, Taz?
No.
No, I was not.
No, unfortunately.
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 Yes, yes.
Most unfortunately.
Most unfortunate. I can't remember if there's anything else like that around. Like, there's probably some things here and there in Chapter 3, I just can't think of them. However, I am going to moving on to the Chapter 4 preview stuff. So if you have anything else you want to ask or say about Chapter 3, speak now, or semi-forever hold your peace, aka if you pop into the chat later on and you still ask about Chapter 3, I will likely answer it. Anything from the two of you?
I don't think so.
Alright.
No.
Alright. Now, Chapter 4 is going to be very different from Chapter 3. And the first thing I'm going to show you, whatever it means...
Oh! Did you ever show the other Khazra-Drop?
No, I did not. Thank you.
I remembered.
You remembered.
I remembered.
Oh god, I need to actually get here so I can zoom out. Jeez. She's
I
so
did
big.
good. I did good, sir. I did.
You did good. God, the expression. There. Yeah, good enough. Yeah, okay. So, it was very much the token for Type Neptune, but you didn't really get to see the full image for Khazra-Drop. I just wanted to show this off. I like how it turned out.
I did too.
Of course, there are things I don't so much like about it, such as that one sleeve that looks like a line. It is not my favorite, but what are you going to do when at that angle you can't actually see the sleeve? Because I tried. But no, it really does give the feeling that she is falling to her demise, and she wants anything but that.
Mm-hmm.
Good. Joe, you gave yourselves a buffer if you ended up thinking of anything now.
I didn't.
Because I leave this on screen for a little bit.
Yes.
Just put her over there, just falling.
It does make me feel sad for her.
Good. However, also bad. How dare you?
No, you did a really good job at making me like, oh no, poor baby, but...
No, that was the point.
Oh, you deserved it.
Yeah, exactly.
You deserved. You got what was coming to you.
Good. I did my job then. Make you feel bad, however, not bad enough that you try and save her.
If I were a different character, I might have.
Oh,
I'm not gonna lie.
Oh no.
If I were a different, nicer character, I might have tried based on that look. But Polly, like, nah, bitch, you get what you deserve.
No, give it to me.
If I had a camera, I'd be taking pictures.
Oh, right. Sorry, mini thing. Last thing. I maybe swear before I move on to previews. TieSuite.
My baby.
TieSuite really feels like I shoehorned him in. However, the end of Extraneous actually had another boss fight that could have happened, which would have been TieSuite. And the reverse side of Jupiter. the party, I cannot remember what you did to prevent the boss fight. I know it was something. It might have even been said in the session. But it did not happen. I remember what it was.
What?
It was the fact that you did not gather the other Taisuis in one place. They were all still separate, therefore they were not strong enough to do anything.
Well, I wanted to do that.
I know. That's a whole thing.
But no one else would do it with me.
That's a whole thing that I do not need to get into right now. But essentially, everyone else except Joey stopped the boss fight from happening.
I would have stopped it from happening. I would have talked to him. We would have talked him down.
However,
but that bastard stole my baby from me and brainwashed him, made me make him think I didn't love him.
It's not entirely what happened, but sure, it's close enough. Hyaki used Taisui in order to essentially drive Kapotli into defeating him and taking the Ultimate One's power for themselves. Only to then be slashed, for their usefulness is gone. So yes, Taisui's goal there. Taisui's actually there the entire time.
My baby was there the whole time?
Not inside of Kazudrop, but inside of Neptune. And while, yes, you can say that Kazudrop ate Neptune, etc., it was still just in the sky above in Kazudrop's weird-looking reality that whole time. So technically, he was watching over you the entire campaign.
But my baby didn't think I loved him. I loved him. That didn't change, but if he would have changed, I didn't know that we were separated. He probably would have still shown love. Because he's a monster too.
Yeah, he is that massive flesh.
Yeah, probably loved him too. Probably would have shown him just as much love. I will hear no such hearsay that there was anything other than love and affection.
I didn't say that.
Taisui said it. And I blame the one man for brainwashing him.
Alright. First preview.
Actually, you know what? I will still be listening, but
I think, first of all, actually, I can do this. Because I can show the map for it. Sort of. Yeah, I'll just leave this up. We don't need to see our icons. It's fine. However, chat's going to be behind, so I can do this. Chat can still be above it. Here is the upcoming map for Chapter 4. Just like how all of the others have some form of a map, except for Chapter 3, because it doesn't really have anywhere to go. This is more or less the map. I believe I actually am zoomed in a bit more on that version. So, this might not be the full map, aka it might actually be more than the full map. I'm just going to leave this up as we go through other things. Because the first one I was going to show you was a character. I love showing characters off. Ah, great. Wonderful. Can you zoom out a little bit? So I can get your full body. Thank you. There we go. Now, who is this? That's a good question. But there should be something a little odd about them. I'm not going to say what, for you will get your answers eventually in the next few weeks / month. But let me just say that this person quite possibly is one of the most important points of Chapter 4. Why? How? I don't know.
You know. Lies.
No, I don't know. I don't know anything. What are you talking about?
I feel lied to.
Oh no, that's a shame. Let me just move this over here. Yeah. Whatever. That is one. As well, someone as a fresh, new design. Design! God, it's big. Zach,
Ah,
shrink for me.
shrink.
So I can get your whole body on here. Jeez, you're big. There we go. There is Zacharias's new design as of Chapter 4. And you may notice some things here. Maybe not entirely, because at least one of them was never shown on stream. But Zach's been through a lot. And he is going to carry those with him from this point on. And I look forward to seeing what the next party does with him. Because it is going to be quite the journey. So technically, yes, I said the one on the left is going to be probably the most important figure in Chapter 4. But Zach is also, of course, very important to it. So if anything, these two are important.
Very opposing color schemes, I see.
You're not exactly wrong about that. One is very blue, one is very red, and yellow.
One is a bit more brighter, the other one's a bit more duller.
Yeah. I guess you could say that. Zach's red is very bright and vibrant, while
And even some of the other things on Zach are more bright, where hers is more dull.
Well, I mean, if you mean his shoulders, that is because there's actual fluid flowing through those.
Oh shit, why?
Well, it's been that way since Chapter 2.
I don't remember that ever being mentioned.
I think it was a very brief mention that the little pink there is actually fluid flowing through to power him. It is what.
So what I'm hearing is we just need to aim for those spots and cause him to have a leak and he'll die.
Well, no, it's not powering his body. It is powering the seventh holy scripture. So if you want to make sure you can't use those, then yes. But of course, there are some things on there that are little hints of stuff. If you can point them out, good for you, honestly. Some of them are very unnoticeable and hard to pinpoint what they're from. I will not say how many there are or what they are, but that is that.
On Zach?
Yeah, on Zach.
Oh, yeah. Hell, one of the people who gave the thing doesn't even know.
that is actually true. And you know what? Chat? I'll give you a freebie. Tell me, do you want a servant or a non-servant?
That's not here right now.
I know. However, if you two also want to say something, or anyone else.
Taz, what you feeling? Servant or non-servant?
I am feeling non-servant.
Alright,
Non-servant it is.
Alright, it's two non-servants. In that case, the last piece of art I will be showing is quite the odd one.
Ooh.
Very different. Not only from my normal art, also just in general, very different. Possibly also important to Chapter 4. What is that? And what role does it have? What role do any of these three have in Chapter 4? One might seem obvious, but is it really? Is it really?
Well, I mean, bare bones, Zach is here to defeat the ultimate one.
But
I don't
is he
think that
really?
He better.
Yeah, you're right. He better be there, otherwise, who boy?
Is there a reason why its color scheme's a bit similar to Nicolette?
No.
Okay, good. They swear to
That,
God.
no.
Okay, it's coincidence.
Its color scheme has importance. However, just in case anyone wants to try and figure it out, you cannot tell from this image alone. It is impossible to tell its importance from this image alone. So, you can try. You're not going to get the answer, though.
Unless you somehow like me and jump to conclusions.
You are missing way too much information. If you get there, I am going to come over and ask you how.
Are you talking to me, actually?
Yes.
I thought I already guessed it.
No, you didn't.
I thought I did.
Nope.
Okay, cool. I think I have an idea.
You can have an idea. Now, the last little thing I want to say about Chapter 4 before we start wrapping things up. Also, yes, if you have any questions, whether it's about Chapter 4, Chapter 3, Final Note in general, the channel as a whole, since we've been going for a bit, sort of ask away while I do my little thing here. The theme for Chapter 4. Because every chapter has a bit of a theme. Chapter 1, Magical Girls. Chapter 2, Servants, the Servant Verse. Chapter 3, Mechanical, the Datascape, the Extraverse, the Moon Cell, whatever you actually want to say. There's a lot of ways you could phrase that one. And Chapter 4, well, okay, Chapter 2.5, Santa. Chapter 4, Heroes and Villains. That is the theme. Does that mean that the ones on screen now represent those? Not entirely, because the one in the middle was very much a, I mean, I kind of knew I was going to show it if you said not servant, but... Is it a hero? Is it a villain? Is the one on the left a hero or a villain? Is Zack a hero or a villain in this case? Because it can mean a lot of things. For his world, he may be considered a hero, if he gets it back. But what about the world he's going to? Would he be the hero if he is there to destroy it?
We've had this question posed before.
Exactly. But this chapter is really going to pose that question.
Kind of funny that I'm going to have the same character. I'm going to have the same kind of response because both characters are a bit similar in that regard.
I guess that's right. Yeah.
They would give the same response. Capaldi would probably give. Capaldi would have given a worse response, but it would have been very similar.
Who gives a fuck?
If it's yours, you take it, regardless of who you hurt or have to kill. Johanna, her world was dying anyway.
I mean, technically, they're all dying worlds. Mostly. Servantverse was fine.
Yuri, there was no consequence, but Yuri was... You fight to save your world. If you have a chance to save it, you fight.
Indeed. But does everyone share that opinion?
No. That doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter, you say?
Nah. If you gotta... Again, to all of them, you must fight. Regardless of what the others think.
But what if there's such an obstacle in front of Zack that he can't just walk past it? An obstacle being someone who opposes that ideology.
Well, your world or his? That's just the way it's gonna be.
Now my last
little question. You gotta stop him.
Now my last little question on that regard before I end it here. What if that same opposition is from his world?
Well, shit, ma'am. You know this world is dying too.
And with that, I'll leave you with that little tidbits. See what you do with that for a few weeks. So, thank you all for watching. Again, you can ask any questions in the comments. I'll try to get to them if I get a chance. Channel should be getting a bit more smoother in weeks to come, aka around the time that Chapter 4 would start, because I can't really say that while I'm on a break.
Yep.
But until then, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed Chapter 3. I hope you look forward to Chapter 4, as well as the things to come in Final Note in general. Remember, watch Crumbling Legacy. It is a good game. We are enjoying it as the players there. DM is also having a good time, even though he's not here right now. Though he could be, if he wanted to be. I wasn't telling him he can't join. I think he's actually on his walk now, so that's fine.
Nah, he's downstairs.
Never mind. Alright. It's fine. As well as watch AlphaGate whenever it has its next session. I don't believe it's this Wednesday. I believe it's next Wednesday. That sounds right. Yeah, that's probably right.
Yes.
As well as Taz is mute.
Oh, I can't tell because there's 2 feet in the way.
And a map.
Yeah, but it's more fun to say the feet.
I mean, you could just look in Discord.
Yeah, well, I was on a different Discord thing because I got a notification. I didn't come back to the thing.
Fair enough. As well, look forward to other games to come in the future. Because, oh boy, things are gonna be fun to come. And also, little tiny plug right here. Look at Aether Academy, the channel. It might not have a lot right now. However, we're still working on things in the background. Don't you worry. It's just a very slow process. Woohoo!
And we kind of stopped doing the Soul Link. Maybe we'll do that again. Who knows?
Maybe. I would
Maybe.
like to upload some things over there, but I'm not sure what at the moment. I mean, I know what, but I can't say until it comes out.
Yep.
So, thank you all for being here, and until whatever stream we catch you in, or whatever video, thank you for watching, and goodbye.
Bye-bye.